Hey everybody, this is Brian from Carving is Fun. In this video we're going to finish up making our chess pieces for the chess making series here. So in this video we're going to be both making the kings and the queens, since they're going to be very similar for the most part of their the way that they're made. And the only difference is going to be like the crowns or the tops. So what you're going to need to make your kings and queens is a 4" by 1" by 1" block of basswood, or you can use a 4" long 1" diameter dowel, your preferred whittling knives, and a pencil to make marks with. Now if you're whittling along with the video, I'll have a picture on the left hand side of the screen over here, which will show you what the current step is. Alright, so let's get started here. First thing that you're going to need to do if you're working with a block of wood is turn it into a round peg. This is pretty easy, just all we're going to do is just round off the corners, nothing special at all. And keep in mind, we're not trying to get like a perfectly round peg here. Just rounding off the corners is all we're going to need to do. You can roughly round it, and we're going to touch it up later on once we start adding all the details to it. Yeah, that's about good enough right there. No need to be perfect about it. Like I said, we're going to be touching it up later on. And plus, we don't need to aim for perfection here. Just make it look decent. Each one of your chess pieces are going to be unique in their own way. So don't worry about if it's not exactly the way you want it. All right. So starting off, get my little reference point here. The first mark I like to do is find the exact center. Just put a quick mark in there. This is just mainly for reference to show where the middle is. And then after that, we're just going to go a little bit above and a little bit below. This is going to indicate these two sections right here. Then after that, go and make a quick line on the bottom to show the little difference between these two. Look further up, make two more lines doing about the same thing, which is going to be about these guys right here. And then we're going to kind of mirror that with these two, about right here and right here. These are going to be our indicators for this section right here. So after you got those marks done, we're going to just roll it around and make the lines all the way around as reference. Alright, so you'll probably notice that I didn't make any of the marks up on the top here yet. I'm going to do that once I get to the end, at the end here, because I don't want to rub off all my markings and indicators for where I'm going to put like the different crowns on here. So I usually leave the top section for last, and I have this one ready, so I think I'm going to have this one as the king, and I'm going to do the queen first here. So I like to work from the bottom and go towards the top. So the first thing I'm going to do is create a stop cut on this second line right here from the bottom. Just make a stop cut all the way around. And you don't have to worry about it being super deep. We're going to be alternating in between cutting off wood here and creating a deeper stop cut. So after you got your stop cut made, make a quick slice from the bottom area towards that stop cut that you made. A lot of them the pieces will cut off if you cut it at the right section, but if you don't cut it all the way off, don't worry about that. You can go back around and just redo that stop cut and it'll fall right off. There we go. So after you go all the way around, deepen that stop cut, and then just repeat the same process. And then your stopping point is going to be that bottom line that you had made there. So that's the furthest down you want to cut. You don't want to cut all the way down to the base, because then you're going to create a sharp point right here. And that sharp point has a tendency to break or chip during storage or while in use. So a more rounder or blunt edge will be more durable in the long run. And once you have that skirt all made there, just go ahead and clean it up a little bit. You don't want to make it too terribly thin or you might run the risk of it snapping off while handling it or using it. So just keep that in mind. You don't want to make it any thinner than that, probably. Alright, now that's done. What we're going to do is move on to the next step here. So we got our base made. Now we're going to start creating this little middle section here. Now what I like to do is create a stop cut on the two outer lines we made. The middle reference point that we made is just literally that, a reference point. We're not going to be cutting on that at all. Just create a stop cut on those two middle lines there that we made. And I like to do it on both of them since I'm already in the process of making the stop cuts. And we don't have to change handholds or anything like that. And then we're going to repeat the same process that we did down here, but only in a longer stretch. So we're going to be carving this part down to this line in a very similar pattern to how we made for that first part there. So start cutting to your stop cut. And once you have the initial skirt made, just start working your way back. And just like the last section right here, we don't want to make it too terribly thin or it becomes pretty brittle at that middle point. Then once we get the skirt made, again, just clean it up. Make sure it doesn't look like there's too much knife chatter in there or stray parts or anything that's a little wonky there. Alright, once you get that part made, we're going to do the same section to the other side here. It's going to be exactly like this. It's just basically a mirror of this section right up here. So I'm going to fast forward through this part real quick because, like I said, it's the same exact pattern to what we just did. Alrighty, now that we got that section done right here, we're going to start making this middle section a little bit more trimmed down. I have found that it's a little bit easier to do this with a smaller detail knife. But if you only have your regular knife, you'll still be able to do it. You just might have to choke up on the blade a little bit more. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take this and start angling it down a little bit. And once you got it all the way around, you can clean it up a little bit if you need, because you might not get it all the way up to the middle spindle there. And then we're going to do the same thing to the bottom side. All this mainly is doing is cleaning it up a little bit and creating a slight downward angle. We're going to be doing a little bit more trimming on it. Right now this is just to make it look a little bit nicer. Alright, now that we got it trimmed up a little bit and looks a little bit cleaner, we're going to go ahead and angle the tip a little bit further down and cut in a little bit. We're going to have it angled down a little bit further than halfway point. This will be fine because we're going to be doing the same thing to the other side, and it's going to trim it back a little bit, creating a smaller skirt going all the way around. Alright, once you got that side taken care of, go ahead and do the same thing you just did to the other side. Alright, and you'll probably notice at this point there will be a sharper edge on it. We're just going to knock that edge off right here. We're doing this primarily for durability. That way it's not chipping while you're using it or anything like that. There we go. Then you got the middle section all taken care of. After this part, we're going to be focusing on doing the crowns. So right now I have two set up exactly the same way, and then we're just going to do it a little bit differently. So starting off with the queen, which is what we have right here, we're going to kind of just taper off the tip to a little bit of a point, but we're not exactly making a very sharp point at the top. Instead, we're going to do similar to what we did with the bishop over there and create like a little circle going around the middle. which is going to be like the point that we're going to be whittling to. We don't want to create a super sharp point. We can if we want to, but for the purpose of this video, we're going to whittle to this little circle that I just made right here. So what I'm going to do here is start tapering it in. Just taper in the tip to that little circle that I made, or that you made if you're doing it yourself. I didn't do your whittling here, just showing you what to do. So just bring it to that point. Probably don't need to do it all the way up to that spot just yet. It looks like I'm slightly off center. That'll be fine. Not too worried at all. Perfection is not what I'm aiming for. So bring it up to that little circle that you made. There we go. Like I said, we're not doing it right to the tip. We're just doing it all the way around. Just doing it to a little circle there, because we're going to turn that into the ball of the top of the queen. And then that other line that you made, we're going to take that and just make it so the angle matches the top here. So we're just going to bring that angle back to that second line we made. Alright, now that we have a little bit of a cone shape, this is where we can get a little creative at the top here. You can start venturing off and doing your own kind of design to it. Make it unique if you want, but here I'm going to show you exactly what I did for mine over there. So first things first, I actually created a little bit of a V cut going all the way around. So if you have like a V gouge, just might make it a little bit easier, but I'm just going to basically create a V cut all the way around the chest piece here. So right now I'm making the bottom of the V cut, and then I'm going to come back and then create the top of the V cut. This is just going to create like a little wedge going all the way around. Make sure when you're coming back down, you're not pressing too terribly hard. All you're trying to do is meet up to where you created your first little wedge. If you push down too far, you might accidentally split off the side of the wood there. There we go. Now that I got that done, I'm going to do kind of the same thing just above this one right here. And it's going to create like a little ring going all the way around, which will make it, I think it looks pretty cool doing that. So we're just going to have a little ring going all the way around the top there. Do exactly like we did. Again, when we're creating this little cut, when we come back down from the top, all we're going to do is try and meet up to our initial cut there. We're not pushing in really hard here at the beginning either. We're just doing a light cut. Otherwise, we might take off more wood than we want to. Just be gentle with it and go slow if you need. The goal here is primarily to add some detail, so we're not trying to take off a lot of wood. There we go, just clean it up a little bit here. And we'll have a nice little ring all the way around. Alright, now that we got that, we're going to focus on making the ball at the top here. So what we're going to do is we're going to do about the same thing what we did down here, but at the top. So we're going to create a little wedge cut going all the way around the base, just a little bit below the tip. And this will start the base of the ball here. So I'm going to do it maybe a little bit above halfway here. So just create little upwards cut. Make sure you're not applying too much pressure, or you might accidentally take off the entire tip. It's not what we're going for. We're just do it slowly, and then it'll work a lot better. Once you got the first part of the wedge taken off, you can take off a little bit more to further define the top. Just, again, take it slow. No need to rush this part. Might take you 2 to 5 passes going all the way around. Don't worry about it. Alright, now that you have the top part separated, we're going to take this little wall back a little bit more so we can start creating more of a rounder shape. When I say wall, I mean the sides. Goodness. Which is pretty quick and easy. Just go all the way around and just trim it up a little bit. And then once we have that, we're going to do about the same thing to the top. Just basically we're going to round it off. Took off a little bit more than I meant to right there. That's fine. Alright. And then once you have the top part all done, we're just going to angle this top portion to this part right here, so it's more of a cone shape. So just basically reshaping the tip there. Nothing too drastic. And there we go. Once you got that part all done, there's one little thing I like to do, and that's just to take the little flat sides and angle them back just a hair. Just like how I have right here. You can see that they're angled back just a little bit. This allows the grain to open up a little bit more and allows the stain to penetrate a little bit better. Because if you don't, then you get some lighter colored spots right there where it just looks a little bit off. So just angle it back a little bit and it'll make any of the wood stains you want to use work a lot better. Alright, and essentially you have your queen completed. Now to do the king, we're going to be basically making the little crown part right here for this next part, which I have already prepared. Matter of fact, I even got one side of the crown removed right there so we can easily do the next step. So what we're going to do is do exactly what we did with the rest of the body, like we did for the queen. And once we get to the top, we're going to create a line going right down the center between your top line and the top of the block. This center line right here will represent this little lip of the top of the crown right here. And then we're just going to angle it down into there. So it's going to be like a little upside down wedge. Actually, let me get my other knife here. So what we're going to do is create a stop cut on this bottom line here, going all the way around, just like what we did with all the other sections. And then we're going to do just like what we did with all the other parts, and just very similar to what we did to the bottom, and just angle it in towards that spot there. Now make sure when you're doing this, you're not pressing down really hard on this lip right here, because you can blow right through it. So keep that in mind. You want to make sure you have your stop cut made first on this one, and then cut to that stop cut. If you try to push down too hard, you could take off an entire section right here, and that's not what we want to do. Alright, and once you get it all done, just go ahead and clean it up a little bit, get rid of some of the extra stragglers that you couldn't get before. Again, by alternating stop cuts and slices down to it, and you'll have it all set. And then from here, we're going to start working on the little cross at the top, which is pretty easy to do, but we have to do a bunch of stop cuts to make it so we have a little centerpiece to work with. It looks like a little bit of a toilet on the top. You know, I'm almost tempted to just like leave it like that. That's pretty funny. Nah, let's go ahead and keep going here. But what I did here was create a series of stop cuts going down and separating out the top until I got this going. But I did find an easier way to do it. First I will create a stop cut just to have a hard line, but I'll start slicing off the top into like a wedge up to this point right here. This just allows me to have a lot less wood to work with on the top, especially at the beginning. when I was starting to do the little stop cuts to remove all that wood. So just create a little slice cut across all the grain to that line that you made. Then you have kind of a little wedge right there, and then you can just start slowly removing the wood. This is exceptionally helpful, especially because since you're working on the lip, you don't want to have to worry about applying too much force and accidentally split into the wood. So like I said, just do a series of stop cuts and slice off that wood there. You might have to use the tip to create your stop cuts there. Alright, I'm going to fast forward through this section and we'll get to creating the cross here in a sec. Alright, now that we got the wood removed at the top there, we're going to start creating the cross. Now we don't want to have to work with all the wood that's here on the top. We're going to angle it down just a little bit. That way it's just a little bit smaller area to work with, just like that. So just take off a little bit on the sides. You don't have to do too terribly much. Matter of fact, if you wanted it to be all the way across, you're more than welcome to do so. But do just like what we did with the other parts there, with the series of stop cuts. I'm going to do my little slicing method first just to make it a little bit easier. So do some stop cuts and remove that section of wood to create a little block there on the top. Do the same thing to the other side. Alright. Now for this, I am going to bust out my detail knife. Just makes it a little bit easier for me. That way I don't have a big old knife blocking the camera as well. But here I'm just going to create a very simple cross. Doesn't have to be perfect, doesn't have to be ideal, doesn't even have to look nice, because we're going to be shaving off the sides here. Now what I like to do first at the bottom, I don't create a straight plus sign, I go cut in at a diagonal. It's just easier. You can only do so much with the knife sometimes, so kind of just create your stop cut like you're doing before and start working your way in. Just gonna work your way to that center post line that you made a little while ago, just like that. It's gonna create a little wedge just like that right there, and then do the same thing to the other side and take it slow. Since this is a thinner piece of wood, you don't want to force it or you're going to end up cutting off the entire thing. There you go. Now if you want to, you can try to curve it in a little bit. Be careful you don't bust up your knife doing so. If you do too aggressive of a turn, it could cause the blade to get chipped. And also you don't want to take off too much wood or you're just going to make the base really, really thin. Alright, now for the top part, we're going to take it very slowly here because you can cut off the entire section there if you're not careful. So again, create your stop cut, or yeah, create the little angle cut like what we did before on the other sections. You can do it to both sides real quick. Just do it to the top so you have kind of a little bit of a start of a diamond shape. And then we're going to start creating our stop cuts going inwards. Just follow that line. Again, be very, very careful in doing it. Take it slow. You don't want to accidentally take off too much or you're going to be kicking yourself here. And then you have your cross there made. Now you can just take your pencil and shave off your little pencil. You can take your knife and shave off your pencil marks. Goodness. I cannot talk. And just go ahead and clean up any of the base that you have up here. Just make it look a little bit nicer. Remove some of your stop cut lines like I have right there. Make it a little bit smoother looking. And there we go. We got your king. King's all made. Now again, go ahead and angle back all the flat spots there so that you can get a better better stain look on there so it doesn't look funky. Now I'm going to get this area cleaned up real quick, and then we'll start applying our stains. Oh, Ray took down my queen. Didn't even start playing. Alrighty, so first I'm going to apply my beeswax paste to 2 of them. So I'm going to take you and you. These 2 are going to be my beeswax paste, and then these 2 are going to be my stain. So I'm using the Interstate Woodworks beeswax paste. It's basically mineral oil and beeswax. All you have to do is just take it and apply it like lotion. It's very easy to use. So just smear it on there and then buff off the excess. Alright, now that's done, we're going to apply our wood finish there on these guys for the darker pieces. And you're going to want to wear gloves for these too. You don't want all this stuff sticking to you. So what we're going to do is take our wood finish. I'm using some Minwax stain, dark walnut. Just take it and shake it, and then open it up. And this stuff's pretty easy to apply. I'm just going to do 1 coat on it, which is what I've done to all the other ones. Just take it, dip it in there, and smear it on. Alright, and then once you have your stain applied, let it sit for a good 2 to 4 hours according to the manufacturer, and let them dry fully before you start using them. That way you're not getting it all over your fingers and not all over your chessboard. The next video I am going to be working on actually making my own chessboard, because I had a couple of you asking about how I would make it. Even though I have one already over here, I'm going to go ahead and make mine. I went and got myself a 12 by 12 piece of, what did I grab? I think it was, yeah, it's pine. And then I'm just going to start sectioning it off, and then we're going to do some stains and creating all the little grid patterns on it. If you're finding the videos useful, please feel free to like. It's a good way for me to see if you all are enjoying them. Thanks for watching, everyone, and I'll see you next time.